Hey, today I want to talk about the quarterback Joe Burrow and Ohio State. And I've been an Ohio State fan my entire life. I grew up in Ohio. Ohio State is, if you're from there and my parents went there, you're an Ohio State fan. But I want to talk about how Ohio State cost themselves the national championship and by not keeping Joe Burrow, and how they have repeatedly screwed over players from Ohio. And a lot of it has to do with race. And let me give you some examples. So, Joe Burrow was put all the way down to the third string quarterback at Ohio State. Now, for a little history on Joe Burrow, this guy just won the national championship in college football, broke all kinds of records, won the Heisman Trophy. He's from a place called Athens, Ohio. Athens, Ohio is one of the poorest places in Ohio, which makes it also one of the poorest places in the country. So when people want to throw out white privilege, well, it don't exist to people who live in Athens, Ohio. Ain't no such thing there. That's how poor these people are. Super poor. Okay, Athens, Ohio. It's poor. Trailer trash is what people who from Los Angeles with no respect to working class people would call them. Okay, the liberals would call them trailer trash. So Joe Burrows grew up in this area, worst area in Ohio, one of the poorest, just nothing. So he was a great high school player, and he went on and he got picked up by Ohio State, and they put him on third string. His freshman year, he was redshirt. Then his next year, bench, he hurt his hand. They put him third string. He could have played. He was fine. They said they wanted a more mobile quarterback. Well, what does a more mobile quarterback mean? It's a PC way of saying they wanted a black quarterback, which, it's college football. There's a lot of running, this and that. That's what they wanted. Well, here they had the greatest quarterback in college history. This guy has went on to prove that he quite possibly is the greatest quarterback in college history. He grew up in Ohio, loved Ohio State. Every kid's dream is to play at Ohio State if you grow up in Ohio. It's like, that's the thing to do. So he switched to LSU his junior year. And he was good, real good his junior year. But they didn't make it to the playoffs, LSU. And his senior year, though, he crushed it. I mean, he set all kinds of records. He did all kinds of stuff, man. I mean, just won the Heisman Trophy. And as an Ohio State fan, it's kind of frustrating to see that they would have never played this guy. They never would have played him. They never would have played him. They wanted a more mobile quarterback. They wanted their reputation, their look. Ohio State recently has been very worried about their image. They have been trying to not be racist, which has made them racist, basically, because they're not picking players. They're wanting to. Here's a couple more examples of this. Ryan Brewer. Ryan Brewer was from a town called Troy, Ohio. Now, he was in the early 2000s, okay, and he late 90s, early 2000s he played, and he was Mr. Ohio in football, which means that he had he was voted the best player in Ohio high school football. And he wanted to go to Ohio State. He was a running back. Well, Ohio State had heard about this guy and all of his records. So he showed up for the tryouts. And they're like, "Where's Ryan Brewer?" And they're like, "That's Ryan Brewer." They're like, "That can't be Ryan Brewer." They're like, "Yeah, that's Ryan Brewer." Well, he's white. Because he was a running back. So they thought, no way that this white dude is going to make it as a running back in the Big Ten. Well, they didn't pick him up. He went to South Carolina. Fast forward to his senior year. It's a bowl game. South Carolina's playing Ohio State. And mind you, South Carolina should never be at the same level as Ohio State, because Ohio State has so much more money and resources and legendariness of being Ohio State Buckeyes. Come on. they have so much. I mean, so much money is coming into that school for football. It should not be. I mean, no disrespect to South Carolina, they just don't have the same football program Ohio State does. Well, what happened? Ryan Brewer ran for 5 touchdowns, and South Carolina beat Ohio State. He ran for 5 touchdowns. He showed them wrong. Then you had A.J. Olette from my hometown, Covington, Ohio. Kid was a beast. Ohio State overlooked him. This is a constant thing Ohio State's been doing here in recent times. They've been they have not been even picking up players from Ohio a lot that are beasts and animals. And I'm gonna be I gotta be direct and say this. It's quite common. It's quite easy to tell that a lot of it's racial. And I get that there's black players are freaking awesome. Dude, they're awesome. However, you can't disregard other, players. Now, football in general, there is a lot of race thing going on because you never see hardly ever a black punter or a black field goal kicker. If you notice, you barely ever see that. So I'm like, how could that be, right? At the same time, you never see running backs. You never see white running backs. Now, the offensive line that's more mixed up because it's the big fellas, but some of these positions, you can see how they use color to pick them and kind of keep the ratio of the players the same. So that's something I noticed. But I'm really kind of like, as a Buckeye fan, I'm like really upset that they let Burrows go, man, and that they didn't treat him right, in my opinion. Now, he's classy. When he gave his Heisman Trophy speech, the guy was nothing but class. I mean, he thanked Ohio State. He was just the classiest dude ever. I mean, he's a leader. And Clemson beat Ohio State. And then LSU crushed Clemson. And LSU would have crushed Ohio State. Okay? I know that I'm a Buckeye fan and all this, but the reality is the reality. If there was just no comparison. Ohio State, our quarterback was good, but he's a little he didn't have the poise. He's younger, but he didn't have the poise Joe Burrow had. Joe Burrow had the poise. To be a champion, you need poise. Joe Burrow has poise. And I hope him all the success in the NFL. I hope he gets picked by a team that can really work with him and get him to the top. I mean, they say he might get the Bengals. It's hard to say, but I want it to be a team that's gonna be good and get him to the level where he's got to go, because he's awesome and he's just a total classy guy, man. And it gets me too because in an interview when he was in high school and they said he was gonna go pro. When he was in high school and he was gonna go to Ohio State, he said, "I'm gonna bring Ohio State a national championship," and he would have. But their own stupidity. I'm sorry, Ohio State, this was stupid. This was a big mistake. You let this guy go. You had your own little reasons and your own BS reasons and your own politically motivated reasons. You let this awesome quarterback go because you want a more mobile quarterback. No. We all know what you were trying. We all know the look you were going for on this. Don't be ridiculous, okay? It's 2020. We get it. You're pandering. You're pandering against the white man. You hate us. We get it. That's pandering, okay? Joe Burrow won't say this because he's too classy. I'll say it because there's only fucking 30 people gonna watch this video. But that's just a disappointment as a Buckeye fan that you let a guy from Ohio who the greatest arm I've ever seen in college football, dude. This guy's better than Joe Montana. I'm telling you what, man. This guy's arm, unbelievable. I mean, the distance he throws for and the accuracy that he throws for, incredible. From Ohio, Athens, Ohio. Man, this is Athens, Ohio. One of the poorest places in the country. Dude, it just... freaking Obama come in there and wipe them out of manufacturing jobs. Only thing those people had out there. That's all they had, manufacturing jobs. So come in there, get rid of that. They didn't care. They don't care about that. So anyways, Ohio State, you messed up. You cost yourself a national title. If you had Joe Burrow, you easily would have beat Clemson. You easily would have walked over everybody. It would have been a no-brainer. You'd be national champions this year, and Ohio State would be number one. But instead, LSU is national champions because you screwed up. Okay? You messed up, Ohio State. You let your fans down. Okay? You let your team down. You let your state down. You let Athens, Ohio down. But guess who's not let down? Joe Burrow. Actually, Athens, Ohio is happy because Joe Burrow won the title. And everybody from Ohio was rooting for him to beat Clemson, who beat Ohio State. Because you didn't have your crap together, Ohio State. I'm sorry to say, but that's the way it is. You made a mistake. Live and learn. Better luck next year. Joe Burrow, I hope you become the greatest quarterback in the history of the NFL because you deserve it. You're an awesome guy. You're super classy. I wish I was as classy as you. You are a champion. All day, every day. You know what time it is. Swine time.